Hello, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you for joining us for the last admissions webinar for incoming master students. We welcome you and we have a full event scheduled for you today. My name is Christina Burton. I am the Associate Director of Graduate Admissions Operations, and I'll be your host for today's call. We have a full plate for you. We have a lot of our current faculty and staff who are going to be helping you along the way as you pursue your degree. So you'll hear from a lot of them today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Dean, Dr. Vijay Kumar.
Thank you, Christina. I hope you can hear me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to welcome you all. And let me first start by congratulating you on your Penn Engineering admissions. I'm delighted you're interested in Penn, and we're honored that Penn is among your top choices. Let me just say a little bit about Penn. I want to say a little bit about engineering, and then hopefully try to answer some of the questions that I'm sure you have at the top of your minds. So firstly, Penn is a big school. We have 12 schools on campus within the University of Pennsylvania, and engineering is one of them. I like to say that engineering is probably the most important school today. Why? Because I cannot imagine a more important discipline to be studying today than engineering. If you look at the challenges that face our planet, food, energy, water, and health, all these challenges require solutions that go through engineering and computer science. And we are investing very heavily in the school at the interface between health and engineering, on energy and the environment, and also other technologies that will affect us, such as precision agriculture, such as water. And of course, a core cross-cutting technology is data science and artificial intelligence that cuts across all our challenges. And these are areas where we're investing it with new faculty, with new scholarships, with new buildings, new facilities, and really an exciting time to be at Penn Engineering. Of course, no discussion of universities or technologies can be had without thinking about the world we live in, which is dominated by the pandemic. But even there, I find so many opportunities for engineering, whether you think about accurate, instant, cheap, and portable tests for the coronavirus, scalable approaches to doing this. Clearly, engineering methodologies and data science are vital. So today, one of our biggest challenges, if we cannot find a vaccine in the short term, is to think about antibody production at scale. So there are companies like Regeneron, Eli Lilly that are doing this, but to give these therapies to symptomatic people and their close contacts over the next year, we'll need about 25 million doses in the US alone. And I'm not even thinking about antivirals like remdesivir, which are some of the most commonly touted cures. So clearly a big logistics challenge, but again, I cannot overemphasize the role that engineering will play in solving some of these challenges. I myself have an appointment in mechanical engineering and applied mechanics and computer information science and electrical and systems engineering. I work in the area of robotics. So very close to home is thinking about robotics technology to provide patient support while ensuring the safety of caregivers, performing some of the basic patient management functions. Today, those functions are done by human beings. And to do this at scale across the world without putting caregivers at risk, this seems like an obvious thing to do. So clearly investments in robotics are essential. To me, the most telling example is really the rapid way in which China responded, setting up emergency shelters and hospitals. This is a huge, tedious, labor-intensive operation. And China has allegedly built a hospital in Wuhan in 10 days, very impressive. But it required a massive deployment of human capital and resources. And here again, technology has solutions for places that cannot do it at the scale that China did. So just a few examples, and I cannot think of a better time to be in the engineering field. And I'm reminded of the last time we had a crisis like this in 2008. which was a financial crisis, and the world economy was depressed. And that was instead the inflection point for engineering, technology, and computer science. So 2008, our world changed, not just because of the financial crisis, but because technology exploded. And the students who were enrolled in our programs back then had amazing jobs in 2009 and 2010. I want to say a little bit about the state of the university. Every university in the US has been thinking about how to conduct its operations at a time of a crisis like this. Our university officially reopened to research on June 8th. We are at 20% occupancy. On July 13th, we will be at 50% accuracy. These activities are limited to research activities. But on September 1st, we're prepared to welcome back students on campus. Everybody who needs to be on campus and who wants to be on campus will have a place, even those that want to stay in dorms on campus. So this is our commitment to the incoming students. In our phase 1 in resuming research activities, which started on June 8th, we've had about 300 people occupy our buildings on a regular basis. And I'm really pleased to say that we've managed all the logistics surrounding getting students into the building, working safely in research labs. Of course, our classes are still online, but there's a lot of activity that's going on in our research labs. And I've been very impressed with all the logistics that are in place to ensure safety of students, staff, and faculty. I myself have been experimenting with taking courses like robotics and trying to put them online, because we know some of you will not be able to be on campus because of travel restrictions or because of embargoes surrounding the area you live in, because of perhaps COVID-19 legislations in your local areas. So we cannot predict that. So our motto is to be prepared no matter what happens to deliver the highest possible quality of education that we can. So robotics, as you can imagine, is a laboratory intensive class. So like my colleagues, I have thought deep and hard about how to take some of these classes online, how to build virtual environments, and how to use cloud services effectively to simulate very complex robotic mechanisms, and then think about how to train students in algorithms and computational abstractions and software, all about electromechanical systems. So think about what a mechanical engineer does. Well, we can now do it now in a virtual world without taking away from some of the laboratory experiences. Of course, we really hope that we will be able to open up labs at the scale that we are planning to do, but should we have some kind of a public health emergency, we're ready to take some of these laboratory courses back online as well. This is independent of the world we live in currently. This is an exciting time to be an engineer, and I'm really excited to see all of you here. And I really am looking forward to seeing you all in the fall, either face-to-face or virtually. I know my colleagues, especially Professor and Associate Dean Boon Thau will answer a lot of your questions that you have about logistics, about admissions, about financial aid, scholarships, and so on. But I just wanted to be here to welcome you, which I've done, and also tell you how excited I am about the incoming class, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Kumar. So just as a reminder, I didn't mention this earlier, but this session is being recorded. So please be aware of some of the questions that you're answering. Make sure you don't share too much personal information, because the recording will later be posted to our YouTube page. Next, we'll have a talk from Dean Boon Thau. He's the Associate Dean of Graduate Programs, and he'll talk to you about our plans for fall registration.
All right, thank you, Christina. And I would like to echo Dean Vijay to welcome all of you to Penn Engineering. I've seen a lot of questions coming up in the Q&A, a lot of which we will be addressing in this webinar. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is classes. So Christina, could you move to the next slide? All right. So there are a lot of questions about how classes will be conducted in fall. The first thing to note is we have at this point collected information from all the faculty about whether their classes are going to be hybrid, virtual, or labs. And this information is being finalized, and we expect to put that on our website sometime next week. So please stay tuned for further announcements. But broadly speaking, Penn Engineering will have 3 types of classes. There'll be hybrid classes, and this will be the instructor teaching on campus, and there will be recorded videos for all remote students. One of the commitments we have made is no matter where you are in the world, we will support you academically and make sure you're able to complete the course requirements. There'll also be a number of mid-sized classes, usually about 50 or less, which will also be in the hybrid model, but because of social distancing guidelines, may require some rotation of students coming to class. And a large number of our big classes, because of the fact that we have to provide a safe environment, will be taught in a virtual model, and in the sense that the instructor will be teaching online during the regular scheduled time, and all the recorded videos will be made available to remote students. Now, some of these virtual classes will have in-person small group discussions or recitations, where the professor or the TA will come to class, and for whoever is around, right, and this could be outside of the scheduled time, to hold in-person small group discussions. And finally, we have labs, and Dr. Sid is on the call today, and he'll talk more about it. And we'll have the choice of on-campus or remote learning. Now, I understand that many of you are understandably nervous about the recent SEVP ruling. We have Jeremy Spohr from ISSS today who can answer questions. But there are 2 things I want to mention here. Number 1 is that if you are overseas and are not able to come to Penn Engineering in fall, for whatever reasons, there will be an opportunity for you to take classes remotely, right? And this would not in any way compromise your subsequent visa status. We'll have more on this in a bit. Second of all, if you're already an international student in the US, we are well aware of the requirement for on-campus programming. And this is something we're working actively with ISSS. But one thing we want to assure you is that if you're in the US as an international student, there will be on-campus programming such that you can meet the whatever requirements that the SEVP has put out there. So I want to reassure everybody that Penn Engineering is on top of this, and we'll make sure that every F1 student stays compliant. So we have a website which URL is available here. Sometime over the next few days, we will put up a URL that will link to all the classes with the name of the instructor, email of the instructor, and what classes would be online, hybrid, lab-based, and for the online classes, which one would have an in-person component. But as with anything else, we know that things may change. So just keep that in mind, that this is subjected to changes, and we may add additional programming, right? Academic programming based on our understanding of the SEVP ruling to make sure that all international students who have to come on campus would be compliant as far as their F1 visa status is concerned. Right. So the other thing I would like to talk about is university services. One of the important services that I think many of you care about is career services. Now, with the pandemic, it has also offered us the opportunity to move a lot of our services online, right? So the first thing I want to say is that all university services will be available to those who are unable to come to campus. And this includes the job fair as well, right? So let's say you are now currently in China or India, and you matriculate as a Penn student, and you take classes in fall. What this also means is that you're eligible to attend our engineering career fair, which will be conducted virtually on a platform called Handshake. And you will be able to talk to prospective employers remotely, right? And that can help us to, for you later on, as far as helping you through the job search process. And given that we are online, it also means we will not have any cap on the maximum of participants, and our career services team, and all of you heard from Jamie Grant, who leads our engineering career services team in the last webinar. They'll be able to offer you help remotely as far as resume review, internships, search, interview preparation, and so on. Now, before I hand over to the next person, I want to talk about something that a lot of you have mentioned and are concerned about, which is CPT over the summer. Now, if you're taking classes remotely, it is true that you will not, unless you are on campus physically for 2 full-time semesters, it's true that you won't be eligible for summer CPT. But I would like to mention 2 things which are important. The first is that over the years, I have not seen much correlation between students getting summer internships and subsequent getting full-time jobs. A lot of students get great jobs and they spend the summer between the 2 years at Penn doing research, being TAs, and those are just as strong of a signal for employers, right? So I would like everybody not to be fixated or feel that your entire job search is not going to pan out just because you're not able to do that internship over the summer. The second thing to note is by fall 2021, we would have launched our academic field study option, which will allow all of you to actually do an internship in the fall semester, right? And actually, this is much longer duration than summer. And also, anecdotally, it's easier to get an internship in fall as well, right? So I just want to reassure you that do not make any decision on deferring or on doing remote education in fall just on the basis of the summer CPT. That's a very short-sighted view of the overall picture. All right, so with that in mind, I'm going to, so Christina, can you proceed to the next slide?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Liu. So next we're going to hear from one of our professors, Dr. Susan Davidson, who's going to speak to you about what you can expect from remote learning.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me fine? Great. So I will say that it was an experience for everybody, professors as well as students, in the middle of last semester to move in 1 week from the classroom to going online. And I know that many people had misgivings about it, but I have to say that I can't imagine a better time in history to have to do this because of all of the technology that we now have that enables us to effectively teach in an online fashion. Over the summer, we're all experimenting, we're all talking to each other, we're finding out what worked best. And so I'm very optimistic that come fall, we'll be really in a good place in order to offer the best possible online experience. So what was it like? My name is Susan Davidson. I teach a large database class. It had 240 students in it. Students were working in groups of 4 to do a project. So it was a very large course, lots of students, and we were able to provide a very good experience for our students, despite the fact that it went online. So what were some of the features? What were some of the things that we were using? Of course, we were using Zoom with either pre-recorded lectures. So I had pre-recorded lectures so that students in different time zones could download and watch them at their leisure. Also, they were targeted at particular topics so that they could just download the topic they were interested in. And I also supplemented that with in-class or Zoom synchronous lectures and discussions. I found one of the benefits of using Zoom that I hadn't really anticipated was that many students who felt uncomfortable asking questions live in class would ask questions via chat. So funnily enough, this opened up for students who might otherwise feel inhibited from answering or asking questions. They suddenly were quite vocal. So I found that to be a really good benefit. We also have recitations in that class, and so we were able to use breakout rooms in Zoom so that students could break out and TAs could wander from room to room, answering questions as they came up. Office hours, again, we did that using a system that our students developed here at Penn, which allowed students to say what question they had, provide a Zoom link, and then TAs or me would go and we would go join that Zoom session with the student and answer their questions that they had. So despite the fact that this was remote, there was a lot of interaction via Zoom. And of course, we always use Piazza, which is a live question answer system. And the response time on Zoom was very good. It was usually about 40 minutes. So my feeling is that for my class, students were able to move very effectively and learn as well in this virtual environment as they had been learning in class. Of course, they knew each other before they came into it, so we're going to have to build in that type of socialization early on. But I'm optimistic, at least from my perspective for my course, but I think it is reflected across many of the other lecture courses in computer science. It was very effective, and you have a great experience. So that's all I had to say, unless people have questions.
Thank you, Dr. Davidson. Next, we'll learn about what lab-based instruction could look like in the fall.
Okay, you guys let me unmute. Can I start the video too? Is that okay?
Yes, go ahead, Sid.
Okay. All right, I'm trying, but it says stopped. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, because I think one of the more exciting parts of being a master's student is that you get an opportunity to do some of the finest labs on campus or off campus. And what we have been working now throughout summer and part of spring are to develop modules that are fully portable across whether we are in person or off campus. And the courses that many master's students take, I know, one of them is ESE 519, and the other one is ESE 516 within ESC. The other interesting courses that students take, which are not kind of lab requirements, which are part of electronics, is of course autonomous driving using the scaled models of Formula F110 cars that Professor Rahul Mangaram teaches. And I urge you to look at our website. So if you search for just Detkin Lab, DETKIN, I'm going to try to start the video again so everybody can see. Hi, everybody. So Detkin Lab is DETKIN. I can put it in the chat here. Is that okay, Boon? They can see all the content of the chat.
Yes. Make sure it's kind of when you send it, you all panelists and attendees. Then they should all be able to see it.
Yes. All right, I'll copy it so that you can see where the courses are exactly. Give me 1 second. So the changes we are bringing are absolutely in line with some of the things you'll be able to do at home or in lab. Here is the lab website. And if you go to the website and click on courses, you will see the list of courses that we are making available. For fall, one of the more exciting classes is ESE 519. There is, of course, a link to ESE 519. It's a class that kind of blends embedded and real-time operating systems with some very exciting final projects. We are working on modules that you can access even if you're remote, and we are in process of gathering parts kit that you'll be able to procure wherever you are. So that is something we are getting assurance from the vendors that we'll be able to do, and I look forward to it. So feel free to email me if you have questions. Happy to answer any specific details of labs that you may have, or I can pass it on to Kim, who's going to be teaching the class. So that's about it. And if you're coming to Penn, I would love to say hi, either in person or virtually.
Thank you, Sid. So next we're going to have a welcome from our Graduate Chair of Bioengineering, Dr. Yale Cohen.
Thanks, Christina. Yeah, I just want to emphasize what everyone else has been saying and welcome you all to Penn. And also, to emphasize what Dean Kumar said, if there's ever a time to be a bioengineer, it's right now, where our faculty are working on developing new ways to deliver drugs, developing new drug technologies, and really doing cutting edge work across the whole spectrum of biomedical science and biomedical engineering. And one thing in particular that I want to just point out is that within the bioengineering curriculum, we're very, very flexible. We don't have any required courses. And because of that, we have lots of opportunities for different certificates that you can get along the way. And they would double count. You don't have to take extra courses. They count as towards your master's degree. You also get a certificate. And as of last week, we just finalized a certificate in healthcare innovation. So that's exciting coursework that will bring practical experience in how to deliver healthcare to the community, to the world, by leading figures in looking at decision economics and ways of delivering, modeling healthcare that will fit into, I think, a lot of your goals as a biomedical engineer. So I welcome you to campus. I look forward to seeing you in the fall, virtually in real time or in real world. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also like to have Jeremy Spohr, who's the Assistant Director of Client Services at International Student and Scholar Services, welcome you. He will be available later for questions. Jeremy?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Christina. My name is Jeremy Spohr. I'm the Assistant Director of ISSS, and I've been working as the liaison for Cs for many years now, and I cooperate with folks like with Boon and with Elise and Tori, who you will meet in a few minutes. And I kind of help with the immigration part, and they help with the C's and academic part. But I want to assure you that we cooperate together very, very closely to support our international students. And I've been monitoring the Q&A as we've been going along, and I will address as many of those questions as I can in a few minutes when we have time. I will let you know that I don't have all the answers on the SEVP policy guidance that just came out 2 days ago. I don't have all the answers. I have some answers, and I will answer as best I can right now. But we do have, I want to assure you that we will give you the best support we can to be able to do things correctly, both immigration-wise and academic-wise to, support you in your career at Penn and in the United States.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. So now we're going to review the academic options for you in the fall. And I'd like to introduce Tori Frew, who's the Assistant Director of Academic Affairs, Graduate Academic Affairs. She will go through this presentation with you.
Hi everyone, welcome to Penn. This is our main overview page. I'm going to go through 3 different options. The first option is for the domestic students, and then we'll break down international students. So first, for our domestic students, you may matriculate and start in fall 2020 as you normally would. If you are unable to attend in person in the Philadelphia area for fall, you can still be registered remotely and matriculate just as you normally would. There's nothing else needed. Domestic students can be part-time or full-time. You can toggle between this while you are a student here. There is no need for domestic students to have to do something differently to become a part-time student. Let's break down international students. The first category is if you are an international student that is already in the US. This is subject to transferring of your I-20 and a non-expiration of your current student visa. You need to come to Penn, come to Philadelphia, and have some portion of your instruction be done on campus. This is pending the details on the SEVP guidelines for right now. As everyone, like Dean Liu and Jeremy has said, this may change. We do not have all the answers, but as of right now, you need to come to Philadelphia and have some portion of your instruction on campus. You must be full-time to keep your F1 status full-time. That means a full-time course load, a minimum of 3 CUs, the max is 4, and you can also be hired hourly as an RATA as long as you are on campus in Philadelphia. The other category for international students is those that are unable to come back in person in fall 2020 and you are out of the country. You may be registered remotely as a matriculated student and take classes. You do not have to take a full-time load. Students cannot be hired as an RA or TA because you cannot be paid as you are outside of the country. If you cannot arrive in person by fall 2020, as we said, you can still take the classes, but you're going to need an updated I-20, which you'll work with ISSS on, and you'll need to get everything in place for the new I-20 to come back, hopefully in spring 2021. The process to defer, since we're still working on that, it's starting now and will go through August 15th. If you wish to defer, you have to accept the offer of admission through the CollegeNet system first. Then contact your graduate coordinator for their program approval, as the program also needs to approve that deferral for you. You can defer for 1 semester, therefore starting for the spring 2021 term in January, or for a full academic year starting in late August of 2021, early September 2021, whenever that 2021 fall term is going to start. If you are overseas with a visa delay, but you still want to take your classes remotely in fall 2020, there is no need for a deferral. You can take those classes remote. Now, for the students that already chose to defer, and now you're kind of having a change of heart and say, actually, I want to start in fall, inform your graduate admissions representative ASAP. You should already be in contact with the 2 representatives under Admissions 1, which is Abby, and Admissions 2, which is Sherry. So please make sure if you want to change that deferral and you want to come starting in fall and take those classes remotely, please talk to graduate admissions immediately. Registration for matriculated is happening now through September 1. You should have already received communication from your department or program on courses and how each department and program works, because everyone's a little different on how they handle their registration processes. Domestic students who are in the US but are unable to attend in person are permitted to take classes remotely as a matriculated student. So whether you're here in Philly or somewhere else in the US, that's fine. Then we break down international again. International students who are in the US are required to have a portion of instruction on campus. This is so you can maintain your full-time F1 visa status, which is the minimum of 3 CU, typically the max of 4. International students who are not in the US are permitted to take classes remotely as a matriculated student. You do not have to maintain full-time status. You may take less than 3 CUs. Students who attempt to arrive on campus but cannot make it by September 1 due to visa processing delays will be issued an updated I20 from ISSS, and we'll have you let us know as well, which we'll talk about a little later on. And unfortunately, students currently based in Cuba, North Korea, Syria, or Iran are not eligible to take classes remotely at this time. The registration timeline. This just gives you a little bit of a snapshot at what we're looking at. So July 1 was when registration should have started for all programs. You should have received an email right around the July 1 date for fall 2020. And also the deferrals that were coming through. If you did request a deferral, the admissions office started processing those. July 6th, just this past Monday, the financial aid application opened to current and incoming students, and Dean Liu will speak a little bit more about that a little later on. Today's our webinar. Yay, here we are. And the financial aid application is due July 17th, which is next Friday. Decisions are going to be sent out on the financial aid to the recipients on July 31st. That really takes care of all of that with the financial aid. The last day to request a deferral, so if you're still deciding on that and you haven't submitted one yet, is going to be August 15th. So please think long and hard about that if you are taking your deferral or if you are not. New student orientation. We do not have the date yet set. It will come out in the very near future, but we do know it's going to be the week of August 24th. So please keep that week in mind for us. September 1st, first day of classes. If you have visa delays, that's when you need to inform us in RAS, which is the Research and Academic Services Office. That way we can see exactly what it is that's going on and we can have everybody informed that needs to know. And then October 15th, that is going to be the processing portion. We will have the tuition credit for the spring 2021 term added to the account for the financial aid. So it's based off of which Dean Liu will discuss a little further on, but the financial aid, that application that has been filled out is based on the fall number of course units, and then it's applied to the spring bill.
Thank you, Tori. Now we'll hear about the financial aid offering from Dean Liu.
Right, thank you, Tori, and thank you, Christina. So I'm going to talk about the financial aid. All of you should have received through CollegeNet a financial aid form, which has a due date of July 17. The first thing to note is this aid is made possible due to the generosity of our donors. And the reason why we are giving out this aid is we understand that economy is not doing well. We stand in solidarity with all of you, and this is our effort at helping out wherever we can. This is not a reflection of any drop in quality. In fact, if you look at our spring 2020 semester, despite having to move online at short notice, across the board, all our classes receive high, in fact, better course evaluations than the year before, right? So the aid is really to help everyone through this difficult time more than anything else. So the way we're going to do this financial aid is that you fill in the form, and it should take you no more than a minute or two. And based on that, we will calculate how much aid to give. And broadly speaking, it will be approximately up to 15% of your the tuition that you'll be paying in fall 2020. This will come in the form of tuition credit. So for example, suppose you are taking 3 engineering classes in fall 2020. And let's suppose you get a $1,000 aid per class. This means that your spring 2021 tuition will be lower by $3,000. And you could go up to 4 CUs in fall 2020, which means you may get as much as $4,000 off your spring 2021 tuition. The one thing to note is this does not cover any classes where there is no engineering tuition involved. So for example, EAS 896 MEAM 699 or any classes taken outside of engineering, that would not be covered under this financial aid. In terms of eligibility, the aid is given to any current, incoming, or current master students, and it's independent of whether you're taking classes hybrid, in-person, or remote. So you're all eligible. However, this excludes students in our MCIT online program. If you have received a Dean's Master's Scholarship, you will not also be eligible for this additional financial aid. And current Penn staff, which is who are receiving tuition benefits, would also not be eligible for this financial aid. If you're a Penn undergrad who is continuing on as a sub-matriculant student or through our accelerated master's program, if your status is still an undergrad, then you will not be eligible. But if you have completed your undergraduate degree and started your master's degree, then you would be eligible for this aid. Now, because students may drop or add classes, we are going to apply the aid only by October 15, after your class schedule has stabilized, and this will be applied as a credit towards spring 2021 tuition. So for some of you who may have visa delays, unable to come here in time in fall, I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of this financial aid to take classes remotely in fall while waiting for your visas. That way, A, you get the benefit of a reduced tuition. B, you can make academic progress while waiting for your visa. So I can see a lot of questions coming in, and we will address them later on when we go to the Q&A session.
All right, great. So if you have not already submitted your financial aid application, please do so before next Friday. Now we'll learn about some of the academic supports you'll receive during your program at Penn Engineering. And I would like to introduce two of our excellent graduate coordinators. First is Mary Eileen Griffith. She works with mechanical engineering and applied mechanics, as well as the integrated product design programs. And then we have Stacy Kaplan, who is the coordinator for data science. So Mary Eileen, could you get us started by letting us know what sort of academic support students can expect of you?
Hi, Christina. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. By now, anyone in mechanical engineering or integrated product design should have received an email from the department, either from myself or from Mr. Peter Litt for mechanical engineering. We are brainstorming and thinking of new ways that we can address our current students, incoming students in a hybrid format. We're thinking about different ways we can engage in events, how we can start to build community, and we have compiled a very long list of that. Also, the staff has increased our support hours, either with online open office hours, or you can book by appointment, or set up a Zoom, or we're still doing calls. Any way we can support you in a way that comes to you, we have been trying to do. And yeah, it's exciting because we're finding different ways to engage. Yeah. Our courseworks, the faculty should be reaching out as well. Stacy, I don't know what you guys are working on over in data science.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, Penn Engineers. So I am the coordinator for data science and scientific computing program. And I want to echo Mary Eileen that we're looking for new ways to support you in your academic course planning, connecting with each other through Zoom. We hope to see many of you on campus, and we'll come up with creative ways to build community that way. We have a Piazza board so that current students can help incoming students. And we hope to connect you with industry through webinars and just through creative ways during this exciting time.
Great, thank you both. I just wanted to let you guys know that the graduate coordinators are really important towards helping you to succeed in your program. They connect you with resources around the university, and they can help you when any problems arise, whether academic or otherwise. So please, if you have not already done so, reach out to your graduate coordinators for some assistance. Now is the time you've all been waiting for, so we'll take some questions and answer. I'll let Dean Liu take the lead on this, as you guys have already been including your questions in the Q&A section. So let's hear from you.
All right, so there's a lot of questions coming in. I try to take as much as I can. Some of them will have to defer to Jeremy, who's the expert here. But there's one question which was a good one I forgot to mention is, if you apply for financial aid, would you get it? The answer is if you meet the eligibility requirements and you're taking engineering classes whose tuition comes to engineering, then yes, you would get it. And that's independent of whether you're overseas, in-person, hybrid, or whatever category of classes you're taking. So there are questions on, Jeremy, there's quite a few questions on related to immigration and visa. Do you want to take them?
Sure, Boon. I've been kind of making some notes here of just maybe 4 or 5 general categories. I want to express to everybody that I really can't take your personal situations and advise on them right now. We need to focus on what can benefit all 310 of you that are on here, okay? So let me go through a couple of categories. So the first big issue that any of our students outside the US are facing is the actual ability to, number one, to apply for a visa, and number two, to physically be able to get a flight to the US in the next, 8 weeks. Both of those things are going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to do in the next 8 weeks. And we understand that. And what we will do for the students who are unable to arrive here by around the first week of September, we will work with C's and we will defer your I-20 probably to a January start date, because you can't arrive in the middle of the semester. Okay, you can't come in November. We will push you to January. So I encourage all of you to still enroll in the remote courses. Okay, take your 3 CUs or 4 CUs or whatever you want, but do it remotely. So you're going to be fully a Penn student. You're not going to have F1 status though, because you'll be in your country, but you'll still be in the program. You'll still be earning your credit. You'll still be learning the things that you need to learn. And then hopefully in January, you will be able to arrive. So over the course of the fall, maybe not till October, November, December, you will get a visa and then be able to arrive here in January. That's the hope. Again, we can't predict the virus and we can't predict the opening of the embassies and the consulates, but we will update your I-20s as needed. We're prepared. We think we're going to have to update thousands of them. We are facing that challenge, but we're ready to meet that challenge to update people's I-20s. So that's kind of a big picture thing. And then hopefully there will be, again, based on world conditions of both immigration wise and virus wise, will people be able to, number one, get visas, and number two, get flights to arrive here. And I don't, that is very much beyond our control, but we will help you with the documents. We will send you documents with new dates on them. Probably will shift you from September to January. So that's one big chunk of questions. We will update your I-20s and probably send, we haven't figured this out for sure. We will probably send you new electronic versions of the I20s. And if it goes to January, of course, we may ship you hard copies by then, but we will update them as needed. Okay. We will not, here's one thing I noticed that a lot of people asked. They said, well, if I change my dates, I can't apply for a visa. Well, that's technically not true, because we're not going to change your CVIS number, and we're just going to shift the dates on your I-20 and send you a new one. So if you get a visa appointment for December 1st, we have a lot of time to give you a new I-20 that says you're going to start on January 16th. Okay, so don't panic about that detail right now in July. Okay, we will be able to update your I-20s so that you can apply for visas in, say, October, November, December, in the hopes of arriving in January. So that's one big picture thing. The other thing I want to update, a lot of students asked about the SEVP guidance and the November Thanksgiving closure of campus. So we understand there's some contradictory information here. Penn is definitely going to be hybrid as a university, and the ending of the semester early for Thanksgiving, I'll be completely honest, that is still a bit unclear to us how that's going to work out with the immigration situation overall. But we will do our best to modify this to keep all of our students in F1 status that are here, that are physically here. We're not gonna cut you off and kick you all out and lose your F1 status in Thanksgiving. Okay, I don't know how we're gonna work around that, but we will do our best. Of course, I cannot promise, because a lot of these things are beyond Penn's control. But we will do our best to make sure that our hybrid model will work to maintain our students' F1 status. So you are correct. The SEVP guidance is there, and it's a bit contradictory. We are working on getting more clarification on that, because many campuses across the US have the same idea of starting and then maybe closing early. We don't know how that will go yet. The other big category of questions was about CPT, and I'm very glad that Professor Boon Thau gave that little word of advice to everyone. Don't be super obsessed about CPT and internships. They're a good thing, and that's true, and we will help you to do those, but it's not the only thing that you're here to do. Okay, you're really here to take your courses and gain the knowledge through that entire master's program, maybe to do research. CPT is great, but that's not your only goal. Okay, internships are not your only goal. That's one component. So we will help you do that, but we are sticking to the need for 2 semesters in F1 status. So that really means if you can't arrive in the fall, then you will need to be looking at arriving in the winter and then being full-time with F1 status from January through the summer. Spring and summer semester is 2 semesters. Then we can look at CPT in the fall. So that we need to think in that mindset. We're sticking to the 2 semesters F1 status before you can participate in CPT. There were several questions from transfer students that are already in the US and about beginning CPT immediately or right away in the fall. Sounds like a good idea, and you do have F1 status, but the big thing is that our Penn CPT policy, you have to complete, and Boon, correct me if I'm wrong here, you really need to complete at least 6 CUs, 6 classes before we're going to authorize any CPT. So you have F1 status, you're coming from undergrad, right? But you haven't even attended a class at Penn yet. So before we support you academically, we need you to take those 6 classes to prove that you have the skills and the knowledge to go out there into the world as a Penn, kind of a representative of Penn, right? As a Penn student, before we are going to authorize CPT. And that's not just me. That's not me. That's engineering as a whole. So I think those were my big categories. And I'll stop now and let Boon continue with other Q&A, and I'll come back if needed. Okay.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. There's a lot of very specific questions, which I don't think we have time to go through.
Yeah,
all
no,
of them
we
today.
we can't do specific personal advising, and we want to be big picture here.
Yep. But there's one takeaway message I want to tell all of you is that ISSS, Jeremy worked very closely with engineering. The past week, I've been literally on the call every day with them, right? So, and the situation, of course, changes quickly. But we are always here to help, and we'll do our best to help to make sure all of you stay in status, and so don't you worry. And we're learning as we go, but as you know, we are reacting fast to that as well. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Christina.
All right, I hope that Jeremy offered some really good insight. I hope that it answered most of your questions. I do want to, before we close out, I want to make sure that you have the contact information for your program's graduate coordinator. So please take a screenshot. But again, this webinar will be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel. So if you're not able to take a screenshot, it'll be available to you. But make sure if you have not already, please get in contact with your graduate coordinator if you have any questions related to your academic program. I do also want to remind you to close out enrollment with the admissions department. It's very important that you submit your final official transcripts. It's great that some universities have moved towards allowing you to submit them electronically, which is great. However, a lot of organizations or a lot of universities still require the official mailing of your final official transcript. So I just wanted to make sure you all had the change of mailing address. So please note that. And you want to send it to the attention of your graduate admissions contact. So that would either be Abby Whittington or Sherry Ferriallo. And so we'll just have closing remarks from Dean Thau.
All right, thank you, Christina. I was thinking what I should say with these closing remarks, and I have a few things I wanted to mention. So at the beginning, Dean Vijay mentioned 2008, and it brought back memories. I joined Penn in 2007, and soon after there was the Lehman Brothers crash, Boston, followed by economy meltdown, and things looked really bleak at some point. But those were then subsequently followed by years of boom, right, in the tech industry that was unprecedented. And in fact, when I look back, students that came to Penn Engineering during those years that followed the 2008 recession, when they graduated strong, and they hit the kind of the boom years that came later on, right? So I think if there's any time to come to study engineering, now is really the best time. And by the time you graduate, it would really, you'll be hitting the ground running. And I also want to mention around 2008, I was feeling pretty down myself, seeing the economy and so on. And I went to University of Maryland, Baltimore County to attend a research seminar where I gave a talk together with many faculty from all over the US. And I was a brand new assistant professor at that time. And I was thinking, this country will always be there, will always be the best in technology, because I've seen talk after talk by faculty from all over the country, some of the best innovators, the best technology breakthrough that came. And I felt very optimistic about the country, right? So I came in '96. earned my PhD, started 2 technology companies that I sold successfully, taught thousands of students. And I can tell you, I don't know any other country in the world where this really could be possible. And people in this country really welcome and gave me and many similar international students opportunities to kind of fulfill our American dream. So I would say that despite what's happening with COVID-19 and all the other craziness around us, I'm very optimistic that me together with all of you, our faculty, staff, and all the students, we will emerge from this a lot stronger and more united. So there's nothing that I really want more than to have all of you join us in fall, right, to continue this journey with us, and we'll get through this together. All right, thank you, Christina.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining us, and welcome to Penn.